on this computer. All right. Well, thank you for being here. And for those of you who will be watching the recording, I am Lisa Hammett. I am a success coach, and I help individuals who are chronically stressed, nearing or at burnout, manage their stress, hopefully to prevent burnout and get healthy. And I spent 26 years in the corporate retail sector, and I reached burnout. And I felt like I had hit a wall. I was 65 pounds overweight, and I was suffering from chronic migraines, digestive issues. My relationships were suffering, and it was just not a good place to be. So, in a drastic leap of faith, I exited a 26-year career at a high paying salary, really without an exit strategy. And that's what can often happen when we reach burnout. And in hindsight, I know so much more now just from what I've learned in, the coaching industry and just other areas of my life, that had I been able to better manage my stress, I probably would not have made such a drastic decision without some kind of exit strategy. So what I'm going to share with you today, it's not rocket science. Some of this you may have heard before, but it's really just to create awareness of some things that we can do to manage our stress and just kind of to understand, how the stress impacts the body and just what we can do sometimes in the moment or not in the moment. So I am going to share my screen. Let's see. All right. Okay, so hopefully you can see this screen. All
Yeah,
right, okay, fantastic. All right, so Candace, if you wouldn't mind sharing, what are some of the key holiday stressors for you at this time of year?
My biggest one, I think I'm going to say, is the start of traffic. The traffic is so much worse during the holiday season. So just traffic and the list of to-dos that you have to get done, making everyone happy. Going to, I need to be at my sister's house. I need to be at my, brother's house. I need to be here. I think all of that just compiles, trying to make everyone happy.
Right. And can we truly make everyone happy?
No, we can't make anyone happy. That's not our goal.
It really isn't our goal, but I know
not our place.
It isn't our place. And you're absolutely right. But gosh, we try, don't we?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. People pleaser for sure. I'm definitely a people pleaser. And then, the grandkids are in different states. Everybody's in different states. So it's just difficult.
It can be challenging.
Yeah.
Hi, Marilyn. It's nice to see you. And I just asked Candace, what are some key holiday stressors for you at this time of the year?
I would say, in the past, it would have been like gifts, finding the perfect gifts for my kids and my grandkids. But for my grandkids, we basically just give money now. They're all teens, pre-teens or older. And so that's made things simpler. I don't really have, I think one of the stressors is the end of the year. So I'm in a book, and I had, it's more like work and getting things done and meeting schedules. So I have an event next Saturday. That's a stressor about preparing for it and also inviting people and sharing it. And then another one is I'm trying to make some changes in my daily habits. And Wednesday, I realized that I hadn't seen an email for a book that I'm in that's launching in January. And I was like, oh my God, I have to read my chapter and do the edits on it. And I ended up staying up all night.
Oh, goodness.
Which I have the ability to do that. I can't say that I function in every moment well, but awake, most people wouldn't say, oh my God, you just pulled an all-nighter, you know?
Right.
And then I
Okay.
got like, 9 hours sleep last night or 10 hours, but,
Okay.
and I was on a call. I have a call every Friday morning, and I was sharing about this, and one of the women is, what she said to me was, well, actually we talked about deadlines,
Mhm.
and one of them said, forget deadlines, choose lifelines.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's
Her name-
awesome. Thank you for
I'm gonna
sharing
post-
that.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so that
Okay.
was one thing. And then the other one said to me, well, I respond to pressure. So
Mm,
I like that deadline of having to read that, which she didn't say, you must get that done today.
right.
I didn't reach out to her. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm 2 weeks behind. I better
Right.
get this done.
Right.
And I made a demand for myself.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of breakthroughs and boundaries when it
Mhm.
comes to people, but when it comes to deadlines,
Got it. And yeah.
I get in high drive in my, ability that, I mean, most people can't pull an all-nighter
Right.
at my
Right.
age, probably hardly anybody.
All
Unless
right.
they're a nurse or a doctor, they've been trained their whole life.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so I would say those are things that I'm dealing with right now.
Okay. End of year deadlines. I know Candace had kind of shared a little bit before you popped on there, and then like people pleasing tendencies, trying to, make people happy. So, what I want you all to do for right now, I'm going to kind of walk you through a little visualization exercise. But before we do that, I want you to really kind of sit in that stress for a moment. And I know you're probably going, why on earth would I do that? I'm here to learn how to manage stress. Well, you'll understand in a moment. But I want you to kind of really notice where in your body you hold your stress. Is it in your neck? Is it in your shoulders? Do you feel your shoulders like creeping up near your ears? Do you get like a slight tension headache? Some people manifest stress in their lower back. It could be in their gut. So I want you to just take a moment and really kind of think about where you manifest that stress and what it feels like. Just kind of lean into it for a moment. Be present. And now I'd like you to close your eyes. And if you would keep your eyes closed, please, until I tell you to open them. So, what I want you to do is envision that you're in your happy place. Now, I know for everybody this is different, but let's just imagine for a moment that maybe it's the ocean. And imagine that you're on a beach and you feel the warm sand between your toes. And your body feels heavy, almost like it's sinking into the sand because you're so relaxed. And you smell that ocean air, and there's a nice warm breeze. You might hear the surf or a seagull, and you just feel at peace and so relaxed. And you're just so happy and calm. Maybe the beach is not your happy place. Maybe it is the mountains. And imagine that you just went on this amazing hike through this wooded area and you get up onto this vista and it is just spectacular. You can see this valley below, you can see the mountain ridges and all the pine trees, and the air is crisp. It's not cold, but it's cool and it's invigorating. And you feel the sense of awe and wonder, and it's like almost excited, and you're just alive. You just feel really alive. And it's amazing. And really imagine how that makes you feel. Or maybe your happy place is surrounded by loved ones, wherever that may be. It could be a backyard barbecue in the summer. It could be around a big table at holiday time, but there's laughter and there's wonderful aromas of food. And you just feel such joy and happiness being around those that you care the most about. Just kind of sit with that for a moment. Now you can open your eyes. And I would love to hear from either one of you, just real quick, if you feel any differently from when we started that visualization exercise until now. Oh, you're muted. There you go.
I definitely did. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That was amazing. Yeah.
Good. What felt different? How do you feel different now? If you were to describe it.
Just release, like just mine is always in my shoulders and neck and back. So yeah, definitely I could tell a difference. Just not so tense.
Okay. Awesome. Marilyn, did you feel any different?
I did. Yeah, I was in a car accident when I was 21. And so my neck is always tight all the way across.
Got it. That's where you carry the tension.
Yeah, so I wouldn't even focus on that. But when Candace said it, I'm like, well, yeah, that of course that's there.
Okay.
I feel it in my chest.
Okay. Yeah.
Like the tightness around breathing.
Yep.
Like just and also I wasn't sitting straight. I was kind of sinking.
Oh, interesting observation. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
So that just felt more relaxed and open.
Good. Well, this is an example of one way that you can kind of disconnect. Now, towards the end of the presentation, I'm actually going to walk you through an activity where you can manage emotions in the moment. Like if you're triggered by somebody or you're in the midst of something, because this exercise is fantastic. If you have the time to take a couple minutes, and it doesn't take a lot of time, we took a couple minutes, but you can't, like I said, in the moment, you can't necessarily do this. So it's just one technique. And again, whatever your happy place is. So let's move on. Now, as I had mentioned, I think before you popped on, Marilyn, a lot of these things that I'm going to share, you've probably heard, it's not rocket science, but the whole point of this is just to create awareness of some things that we can do, just very basic things to help us manage stress. So first of all, when we are really stressed, our body goes into an overproduction of cortisol, which not only can cause weight gain just from the cortisol aspect, but it also causes us to have cravings for high fat, high calorie foods. So it's kind of a double whammy there. So not only may we gain weight from the cortisol, but also we're eating the wrong things. And when we eat in excess these wrong things, they can spike our blood sugar, they can cause all kinds of stomach issues, they can actually cause more stress. And we don't necessarily think of that in terms of the anxiety that we might feel due to like what both of you had shared earlier. So when we put our body through stress like this, it does manifest in more anxiety. So just some things to be mindful of this time of year. And I am not a proponent at all of eliminating and deprivation and relying on willpower, because one, willpower doesn't exist for anybody. You may think it does or have heard that it does, but the people who seem to have it more together are really those who have learned to use different techniques to manage stress in the moment or to manage emotional eating. It doesn't mean that they have more willpower, because nobody does. So again, creating awareness, think about how much caffeine you're consuming or alcohol or processed sugar and carbs. I know it's the holidays and there are things that maybe you can only get this time of year. You should have them. That's great. Again, don't deprive yourself, but in moderation. So I mentioned caffeine because unfortunately, a side effect of stress can be poor sleep. And when we don't sleep well, we often supplement with caffeine to try to keep us going. Well, that will eventually backfire. And not only will it make it more difficult to not get a good night's rest ongoing, it can also cause stomach issues and other things. I have actually had clients, believe it or not, who get more anxious when they're on caffeine. I mean, to the point of where they are overly emotional. And it took a while for us to figure this out, but through like journaling, they were able to recognize that. And when they eliminated the caffeine, all of that went away. So again, I'm not telling you to eliminate it. I love my coffee, but just be mindful of how much you're consuming and what you're using it for. Are you really drinking it for, enjoyment, or are you using it to stay awake, or in the case of alcohol, to relax? We've all had challenging days, and sometimes it's like, oh, a glass of wine sounds really great. Or, oh, I want a festive holiday cocktail. That's fine. That's okay. But when we drink those in overconsumption, it can actually backfire and cause depression, because alcohol is a depressant. So if we're already stressed and anxious, it will just exacerbate the problem. And again, processed sugar and carbs, really think about those things that are most important to you, like those, I like to call them last meal worthy items. So if you had one meal left on earth, what would you have? What are your most favorite things? So think about those things that you only get during the holidays that are your most favorite things. How can you incorporate those within reason? And then just some other little tips. If you go to parties or social engagements, don't go hungry. I'm not saying go on a full stomach, but don't go hungry, because you'll be more inclined to overeat. Drink a glass of water between each alcoholic beverage. It'll cause you to slow down a little bit. It'll keep you hydrated, which is super important. And you may not want as many because you're going to feel fuller. Check out the buffet table before filling your plate. Again, it's picking and choosing those things that, oh, wow, I don't get this. Yeah, it might be a little more in calories, or, a higher fat, but gosh, this is so good. I only eat this time of year. So, assess the buffet table, pick 2 or 3 things that you're like, wow, this is great. I want that. And then you can cut back on some other things that maybe you have all the time. Use a smaller plate, common sense. And then if hosting, send temptations home with guests. Again, if it's not in your house, you're not going to eat it. So not rocket science. Activity. Now, one of the things that tends to go by the wayside during this time of year is activity. And it's because we get so busy and we're like, I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to do this. So I want you to think of activity in terms of just how can you move more throughout the day? And all movement counts. We have this misconception that, oh my gosh, you have to be active for 30 minutes for it to mean anything. And it has to be high intensity cardio, or it has to be strength training. And that is absolutely not true. Now, with that said, strength training and aerobic activity is very beneficial, but so is just moving throughout the day, because our bodies were designed to move. If you can move every hour, get up and stretch, that's ideal. What happens when we are sedentary for a long period of time? Actually, our organs start to shut down. And you may think, well, that's kind of ridiculous. No, that's not the case. But I want you to consider a period of time when maybe you had a surgery or you had an illness where you were really sedentary for a period of time. What happened to your digestion? It slows down. So that is your digestive tract starting to go to sleep. Well, your circulation does the exact same thing as well. So, and if your circulation is not actively moving the way it should, then you're not getting blood, to organs, and it's a problem. So again, think of ways that you can move, incorporate more steps in your day. And just another way too, that's the advantage of having, like a fitness monitor, because you can see how that movement throughout the day can really add up. And then it'll tie it to calories. So you can see, wow, my 10,000 steps equated to like 1,500 calories. Wow, that's pretty cool. So other tips, just basic, park farther away. Now, we've all done this. I have certainly done this. Gone to a Walmart during this time of year, or Target, or a shopping mall, and you're driving around and around trying to find that perfect space. And you're driving for 20 minutes and you're getting really irritated, and it never fails. You move past a car and you look in your rearview mirror and that person is backing up. And you're like, really? Really? I've just been driving around for 20 minutes and you back out now. So it's annoying and it's stressful. So if you're already stressed, why add more stress to your life? Park in the back 40, just park back there. By the time you walk to the front entrance, you'll have saved time and you'll have moved your body. Take the stairs instead of the elevator or the escalator. Wrapping gifts, stand. If you're on the phone, pace back and forth. Walk the neighborhood to view holiday lights. Again, you know what your schedule is like. You know how you move or what you do throughout the day. How can you incorporate steps? All right, stress avoiders. This is a good one. So negative influencers. Negative influencers, they're not just people, they're environments and they're situations, like social situations. So if you've ever been around somebody and you may have been in a good mood, felt great, but you come in contact with somebody, it could be through work or family or just somebody that you come in contact with that is so negative. Every single word out of their mouth is so negative, and before you know it, you are feeling like crap. And you're like, what happened to my good mood? Well, that energy from somebody else can be transferred to you. It's just common. It can, just like if you're in a really good mood and you're around somebody, hopefully not totally toxic, but your energy can move on to them as well. So really assess those negative influencers in your life. Now, if you have a family member or somebody at work that is toxic, I understand you can't just blanketly remove them from your life, but try to limit exposure. Social media, not a surprise. Social media can really cause a lot of rabbit holes that are very toxic. So limit your time on social media. And if you're scrolling through and you're seeing a lot of negative information, just disconnect. Just disconnect from that. The news, love the news, right? Not. So I haven't watched the news in like 10 years. And every time I watch the news, I get tense and irritated and anxious. And part of it, again, this is not a political discussion, but part of it is it's not news. It's just a bunch of stuff that is thrown at us to get us to be anxious and to get people to watch. And it's frustrating. So I've stopped watching it and my life is so much more peaceful. So I figure, God forbid, if the world's coming to an end or something awful is happening, my husband will tell me or I'll find out in another way. So again, really think about those negative influencers in your life and try to limit the exposure if you can. Focus on what you can control. That's nothing new. But how many times have we stressed, especially during the holidays, and you're putting together a get together and having friends over and, oh my gosh, we're supposed to have a snowstorm or pouring down rain, or if you're in Texas, it could be an ice storm or tornado, but you can't control the weather. You can't. You might stress about it and say, oh gosh, you know what? What if nobody comes? Well, you know what? If they don't come, they don't come. Bottom line, let it go. You can respond. That is what you can control. How you respond to situations. You can't control other people and you can't control situations. So let it go. That will be the biggest stress reliever that you can possibly do. Perfectionism. Anybody a recovering perfectionist or a perfectionist? That is, things have to be done a certain way or it's not worth doing. I grew up in a household, my mother at Christmas time, you had to have the decorations done by a certain time, gifts wrapped, cards done. It was ridiculous. And that transferred to me because that's the way I was raised. And it's unnecessary stress. You know what? If you don't send out holiday cards, who cares? It doesn't matter. If it's going to stress you out, then don't send them out. Just let it go. Pick one or two things that you can focus on without unnecessary stress and just let everything else go. We think that, oh my gosh, people are going to think we're weird, or they're not going to like us, or they're going to be offended. You know what? They're too busy worrying about themselves to worry about what you're doing, especially at this time of year. I can guarantee it. So let it go. Now, we all know we're in a recession, and this time of year can be very expensive for people, and sticking to a budget can be really helpful. So instead, if you have a big family, instead of always buying gifts for everybody, suggest drawing names, or maybe not exchanging gifts. I have several very close girlfriends that years ago, we just said, you know what, we've got everything we need. We do not need gifts. Let's focus on maybe planning a trip together later on in the year. Or if you're in town, let's go out to dinner, or, let's plan an experience, but we don't need gifts. You could donate to a nonprofit. This not only makes you feel good because it's a cause that you're passionate about and you're helping others, but it's tax deductible too. So there's a little kickback benefit. So that is an option as well. But the key is really focusing on experiences this time of the year, because when you look back on life, let's say you're, 100 years old, if you make it that long, and you're looking back on your life, are you going to remember the Christmas gifts that you got in 2022? Probably not. And think about, those relationships, those experiences, game nights, cookie baking, if you like that, viewing holiday lights, whatever family traditions you have, that is really what matters. And then lastly, if you're crafty, I have a friend who's very crafty, and she makes homemade gifts, and they're lovely and they mean a lot. So if you feel the need to gift, that's a suggestion. Again, just some ways to help with stress. Setting healthy boundaries. Okay, so bottom line, healthy boundaries are self-care for you. And if you don't take care of you, you will not be able to care for anybody else. That's just the way it is. And unfortunately, we always put ourselves last. We think we're invincible. We don't listen to the stress warning signs of the tension in our gut or in our neck or the migraines or whatever. And we just try to power through it. And then we end up getting sick, and we're no good to help anybody. So we've got to establish healthy boundaries. So they include the following: taking charge of your calendar. If you feel that your calendar is controlling you and there are not enough hours in the day to get done what you have to get done, that's on you. I hate to say it. It really is. So you need to rein it in. One way you can do that is by doing a brain dump and taking a piece of paper and just writing down from when you wake up in the morning to when you close your eyes at night, all the different things that you do throughout the day. And again, you don't have to make a spreadsheet. You don't have to overkill this, but it will become very apparent on what those time suckers are. And oftentimes they're, binge watching Netflix or social media or, whatever it is. So take charge of your calendar and take breaks, schedule breaks. I learned this the hard way, that if I set a block of time, it could be 3 hours, 4 hours, that, oh yeah, people can book times to chat with me then. If I didn't schedule breaks between that, I would be nonstop talking for 4 hours, or, it's a lot, and you need to schedule those breaks. And if you're in a workplace environment, if you don't take time for lunch, if you don't take time for breaks, you're basically saying to your employer that it's okay for you to reach me 24/7, basically, while I'm at work. Now, often, how many times have you answered an email late at night, or, received a phone call work-related late at night? Again, those are the boundaries that you didn't set. And it's an expectation to your employer that, you know what, you're available whenever. So I recognize that if you have set that expectation, it's a little more challenging to rein it in, but you can. And you start by setting hours. by telling the people that you work with, okay, by 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, or maybe when I leave the office, you're not going to hear from me until the next day. Or if it is imperative that they reach you for whatever reason, then okay, I'm available until then. And if it's past then, I'm sorry, you won't hear from me until tomorrow. So you have to schedule those. I can't stress that enough, because it's just going to, you're just going to spiral out of control. And then schedule me time. Again, I know you can't necessarily check out for hours on end, but take a hot shower or a bath, or read a book or a chapter in a book or a blog post. Watch a favorite holiday movie, listen to music, go for a walk. Studies show that when you are active and when you go outside in natural light, you are more likely to relieve stress. It's not only endorphins, but it's a mood elevator being outside in natural light. If you're spiritual, meditate or pray. That can be very grounding and focusing. And it could be just taking the time to enjoy a favorite cup of tea or coffee or hot cocoa. So those are just suggestions. Learning to say no. This is a very big one. So put for me, or actually just shout out real quick, if this is something that you struggle with, saying no.
I used to. It was the hardest thing I ever stopped to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I did in my 40s finally start saying no.
Good for you. And by doing that, what has changed?
Well, I mean, my immediate response when someone asked for something was always yes. So now I always think about it. What's it going to do? What's it going to impact? So that way, because I would just do whatever anyone asked of me. So by thinking about that, not realizing it was harming my family. So just giving me the time to think about how it is going to impact everyone else in the family.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, learning to say no is hard because we want to be liked. We're humans. We're social beings. Even if we're introverts, we still want to be liked. And when we say no, we can, we can run the risk of maybe somebody not being thrilled with you saying no. That's reality. But if it's going to impact your peace of mind, and as Candace was saying, your family, then you must say no. Now, how we do this is learning how to do it. And I'm going to give an example for personal and also for business. So imagine personally, okay, imagine it's the week before Christmas, no, 2 weeks before Christmas. And you have work deadlines, so you're working a lot of hours, and every single night, with the exception of Thursday evening, you have something going on. It is very busy, and the thought of it just kind of makes you stressed. So you've kind of protected Thursday, knowing, okay, that's going to be the night that I'm going to be at home, and I'm just going to chill and kind of regroup. So imagine, if you will, a good friend of yours that you haven't seen in a while reaches out to you and says, hey, let's get together for some holiday cheer. We can go get a cocktail, or we could go get dinner, whatever, low key. Let's do that. And it's on Thursday. So how many of y'all would go? Anybody?
I don't think so.
Okay. And that's great.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't feel obligated to go.
Right.
You shouldn't.
And I struggle with that, but I'm better at it today than I once was.
That's awesome. And you know what? That's okay. Being a work in progress. The thing is, if you say yes, and this is as Candace was sharing earlier, think about what the impact is of you saying yes. So you might go and you might enjoy yourself, but you get home late and you're frustrated because you knew that was really the only evening that you had to relax. And even though it was great to see this person that you do not see very often, now you're just more exhausted and you have to get up early and you're resentful. Okay, that is generating more stress. So what you could say in a situation like that, if something like this were to arise, you could say, and let's say this person's name is Karen. Karen, this sounds awesome. It would be great to see you, but I have such a full schedule this week, and Thursday night is my only night that I can spend at home with my family, and I have to protect that time. Now, if Karen is a good friend and is understanding, she will understand. In fact, she'll probably think, wow, that's impressive. I should probably be doing that. But Karen could be one of those that's like, oh, come on. It's the holidays once a year. Come on, you can do this. And it can make it a little challenging. Don't apologize and stick your ground, because again, if it is going to cause you stress, don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It is not worth it. And in the whole scheme of things, Karen's going to forget about it. So business wise, I know it can be scary sometimes to say no in a work environment because we don't want to appear like we're not a team player. And oh my gosh, if we appear like we're not a team player, then, you know, I could lose my job, or I could be passed over for a promotion or whatever. Again, it's all in how you say it. So imagine, if you will, your supervisor or an executive or whomever comes to you and says, I really need you to complete this project by Friday, and assume it is Tuesday. Well, you have a very full plate and you have multiple projects that are already due by Friday. You have a deadline of Friday. And you know that if you take on this additional task, as a result, you're not going to complete one of the other tasks that is due by Friday. So what you could say is, I am concerned about saying yes to this project because I have X, Y, and Z that are due on Friday. And I know that if I take on this project, something will not get completed on time. However, if I would be able to move X to next week to complete, I would be able to take on this project and complete it by Friday. If that's not an option, then I suggest so-and-so. And say there's somebody that you work with that you know has a little more time available and that they could focus on this. So you offer those two solutions. So what you're doing there is you're not saying, no, sorry, can't do it, because that does look like you're not a team player, or it just looks like you just don't want to do it, which is not the case at all. But you're saying, you know, I am concerned. I care about my job. I care about these deadlines. I want to do a good job for you. And I'm not going to be able to do this if I take this on within this time frame. And then you're offering two solutions. And that is the key, offering solutions. So hopefully that helped a little bit with learning to say no. Okay, I mentioned about managing stress in the moment. And this is something that I do with my clients. And I put at the bottom of the screen my TED Talk, the link to my TED Talk. I did a TEDx at the end of August, and I actually walked the audience through one of these micro meditations that I'm going to share with you right now. So this is something that is called mental fitness. And it's in the positive intelligence world. And basically what it is, it's the science of how our left brain and our right brain impacts our behavior. So in a nutshell, our left brain is our analytical brain. We need it for problem solving. If there is a problem that needs to be handled, we use our left brain, and it's great. The problem is, and what causes a lot of stress, is we try to do multiple things at the same time. We try to multitask, which was never designed for humans to do anyways. IBM, the computer giant, actually created multitasking as a way to run multiple computer applications at the same time. That is what multitasking was used for. It was not used for human consumption. And we had this misguided notion that, oh, if we're doing multiple things at the same time, we're going to be a lot more productive. Well, our brain was not designed that way. And not only will we not do any of it well, but we're going to encounter a lot of stress. And when that stress builds up, in the positive intelligent world, we call it our saboteurs. And that is when anger, shame, blame, stress, anxiety, all of those negative emotions that we can have that can bubble up, they reside in our left brain. And they can hijack us in our behavior. So imagine, let's say maybe in a work situation and you're talking to somebody and you're getting triggered. And they're saying something and you can just feel it building up like in your chest, and you just want to all over them because they're triggering you. Or maybe it's somebody that you know personally. It could be a spouse, it could be a friend, it could be a colleague, it could be anybody, but it's the same thing. And you've lost sight of really what they're trying to say because you're triggered and you're just focusing on this negative feeling and this emotion. Maybe you're trying to reach a deadline and you feel that stress starting to build up. You know, Marilyn had talked about this book deadline and she was under the gun and, oh, I had to stay up all night. And, you know, that's stressful. It's stressful. So what happens when we focus on that stress and allow it to manifest? We lose sight of the big picture. We are not clear-headed and we react in a way that is not beneficial. So by handling these negative emotions in the moment, we can then intercept them and shift to our right brain, which is our positive brain, our sage brain. And that is where peace, calm, clarity, the big picture resides. So we do this by engaging our senses. And these are 10 to 15 second micro meditations. So they could focus on sight, sound, touch, smell, or taste. So for example, sight. I want you to look at something that is in front of you right now, wherever you're seated, and look at it so intently that it's like you're looking at it for the first time. And I want you to notice colors, shapes, textures, possibly a reflection in the surface. But really, really notice it. Zero in on it. You can then shift to sound. You know, what is the most distant sound that you can hear? It could be a passing car. It could be someone in the other room. It could be a dog barking. Focus on that sound. And then shift to focusing on the closest sound to you, which it often is your breath. So just focus on the sound of your breathing. I'm not saying take a bunch of deep breaths and exhale. You can if you want to, but this is not what we're trying to do here. We're focusing on the sound. Touch. So in my TED Talk, I walked people through this exercise, and you can do this right now. You don't need to get off on camera, but just do it to yourself. So I want you, I think you can see me, I want you to rub 2 fingertips together and really be intentional about it. I want you to feel like the fingertip ridges on your fingers. And notice the temperature of your fingertips. Are they warm? Are they cool? Are they cold? Your fingertips smooth? Really notice that sensation. You can do the same with if you have a coffee mug or, you're seated at your desk, run your hands over your desk and really feel like the different textures. Is it smooth? How does it feel like around the edges? And really focus on that. Smell. So smell and taste. I do this every morning with my cup of coffee. I mentioned earlier, I absolutely love coffee. So I have this really pretty ceramic mug, pottery mug actually, and I love it. And it's got some really pretty texture of sunflower on it. So I'm smelling the coffee I'm really enjoying the fragrance of the coffee. And then I slowly take a sip and I focus on how it tastes and then the warmth as it goes down my throat into my stomach. And it doesn't take a lot of time. None of these take a lot of time. And you can pick and choose. You can do all of them, or you can pick one that resonates with you the most. It could even be maybe you're walking to the bathroom and you're feeling how your feet feel on the floor. But what this does is it shifts your mind from all that negative mind trash that is in your left brain. And it's just making you fully present to really where you're not thinking of all that stuff. So that then when you do respond, you can shift to your right positive brain. Now, remember, I mentioned about somebody that triggered you. So if you're in a situation where somebody's triggering you, what you could focus on to prevent you from just blah all over them is focus on their eye, the shape of their eye, the shape of their iris, the color, their eyelashes. Really stare at it intently. And you can still stare at that and hear what they're saying. But what that's doing is it's causing you to be present. And when you do respond, you're going to respond in a more clear-headed way. So you're not going to just respond, but you're going to you're going to listen to what they're saying. So instead of just listening to respond, you're listening to learn. So that is basically a micro meditation. So anybody, any feedback on that? Can you see how that might be helpful?
This is Marilyn. Yeah, I have started doing this, working with this material.
Nice.
And it is remarkable how powerful it is. Yeah, in my coaching, I always give people things to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And but this is so easy. Feel your fingertips.
Yep.
Or listen for a sound. Or just, let your eyes kind of glaze over something and just look at it. Don't try to figure it out or whatever. It's incredible. And yeah, I love that you brought this up. And what I love about it too is you always have everything you need.
Right. You do.
You don't have to, yeah, you just touch your fingertips. That's the first thing I learned when I did this. And so it's kind of my go-to, and also my breath.
Mm-hmm.
And those are two things I always have with me. So if the other people on the call, if you don't know about this, I would just highly encourage you. With very little practice, it can actually intervene and have you get present to your sage, which.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Marilyn. It is remarkable. And I've had a lot of personal success with this, and just me, managing situations. And then also, like I said, with my clients, they've had tremendous success with this, and de-escalating a situation that can be very intensive. I mean, truly it is. And I like how you said it, Marilyn, is that you always have these tools with you. And this is why this is so effective for managing stress and other negative emotions in the moment, because you always have what you need. It's not like you have to say, I need to go disconnect and go do yoga for 20 minutes in the other room, or excuse me while I go meditate for 15 minutes. I'm not trying to negate the power of both of those, or even the visualization exercise that I did at the beginning. Which is for those of you who weren't here at the beginning, I encourage you to go back and listen to the recording at the beginning. All great tools if you have time and you're in a quiet space, but often we're not, especially during the holidays. So I know we're kind of getting low on time, so I want to quickly wrap this up and then open it up to any questions or comments. So this is how we can connect. If we're not connected, I know some of you are connected to me, but if you're not connected, so there's my website. You can message me from my website. You can see I'm a professional speaker. I just recently published a book, From Burnout to Best Life. which integrates my story of moving past burnout and then applying, just happy, applying skills and techniques to reach your happy, healthiest self, I guess is what I'm trying to say. My email is on there as well. Social media, I am on social media. LinkedIn is my platform really of choice. I post a lot of educational content on LinkedIn, and I think that's where you all found me here. So you're familiar with what I post on LinkedIn. I am going to be doing more webinars like this in the new year. So I would love if you would just shoot me a message and let me know, what you thought of this, if this was helpful, or you could put it in the chat. And because I would like to provide, content that is beneficial going forward. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So that's how you can get a hold of me. I also offer a free stress and wellness checkup. And this is just a kind of a fun little questionnaire that will give you a rating in each of the different categories. Like your mindset and your stress level and just, healthy eating, activity, hydration, sleep, etc. It's free. It'll take you a couple minutes to do. It's a really good starting point to kind of give you an indicator of, okay, these are some areas that I might need some help with. And again, if you would like to chat about it, I'm, open to a discovery call just to have a conversation about any of this. And let's see, you talked about, my book is on there. And I think we are at the end of this. So I am going to stop sharing. And
will you send us those links out?
I can.
I really want to see the TED Talk as well. I couldn't copy it, obviously.
Sure, I can do that.
That'd be great if we can get the links to those things. So we can
actually, you know what I'm going to do right now, before I forget. I have a PDF.
Awesome.
Of the presentation. Oops, hold on just a second. And let me put it on here. So, and then I'll do the recording as well. I can send that. Okay, so here's I just put it in there. So there's the PDF of the presentation. And yeah, we have a couple minutes left. Thank you all for being here. Any comments or anything that you need clarification on? I would love your feedback.
Well, I thought it was a great review of so many different things that we could do. Almost anything, one thing can break the grip of stress and give you that moment to do the 5 sense, one of the 5 senses at least, and kind of get us back to normal. So I like that. It was very simple and straightforward and practical.
Thank you. And that's really what I had hoped. We have enough stress as it is. And I didn't want to feed you a bunch of information that you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to stress me out even more to try to.
Yeah.
So, because a lot of this stuff, like it is basic stuff. You may have heard of it before, but you just don't think about it sometimes. And it's just by making little tweaks here and there, it's amazing how much you can reduce your stress load. So anybody else?
I'll just echo that as well. It was very helpful. Again, things that we may have heard before, but it's a great reminder to keep those in mind.
Thank you. So I put my email in the chat. It's also in the PDF, but yeah, if you just want to pop an email to me and with any comments, if you have any comments, I do have my booking link. If you would like to have a follow-up conversation about anything, that's the link to my calendar if y'all want to do that. And I think with that, if there are no more comments, then I'll let you go. Have a great Friday, rest of your Friday. and a great weekend and a I don't want to say stress-free because you're not going to be stress-free, but a more managed, stressed holiday season. How's that?
Thanks so much for your time today. It was great help.
Oh, I'm glad. All right. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.